Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be continuing into part 7 of What If Bulma Wished for a Boyfriend. If you haven't seen part 6, there's a title card where you can go check it out and see what happened in the last part. But today we'll be going into the Frieza saga. How will this showdown go down? Will the Saiyans have any struggle with Frieza and his father? Has Frieza planned anything for the Saiyans? Also, I own a Discord server for anyone who wants to join and talk more about Dragon Ball with me and other viewers. Maybe give out some of your own ideas of what ifs, and maybe in the future, I could do them. Check the link in the description down below. Before we get into the question of the video, I did see a lot of comments on how I made a mistake with Goku's and Vegeta's power level, which is a bit embarrassing as I'm usually good with math, but their power levels are actually 2.5 billion, and the reason I didn't say 250 million is because I think with grade 2 of Super Saiyan, the boost would be greater than the normal multiplier, which is why I said their power levels being 300 million, but I did the math wrong, and with their power being in the billions, I do apologize for that. Now for the questions video, the question is from the Grim Reaper 444. Hey Wrathful, I was wondering what's your favorite part of Dragon Ball Super? And my favorite part is actually when they do the ritual and Goku emerges to be the Super Saiyan God for the first time. To be fair, I like the way the Super Saiyan God looks, like giving Goku a more slim physique, and it's just like something like how Beerus looks. You see how he looks very like skinny, very like, even though he eats a lot, he looks like he's starving. But they kind of just give him that same look and vibe as Beerus, and it kind of really gives like a god transformation. And though I just like the look of it, even though it looks pretty simple, for me I like the simple transformations, and it's just, to me, it looks really nice. But yeah, that would be my answer. If you want your question to be featured in the next video, just leave down a comment asking a question that you want me to answer, and maybe your comment will be featured in the next video. Without further ado, let's dive into part 7 of What If Bulma Wished for a Boyfriend. Frieza lands on Earth, with his father standing behind him, as their entire army formed together and all stood in front of them, including Frieza's right-hand man and the Ginyu Force. The Hybrid Saiyans and Turbo showed a little fear as they didn't expect to be facing this amount of enemies. Raditz too was a bit afraid with all the terrible memories he lived through during his time growing up under Frieza's rule. Vegeta would tell them that he and Goku would face off Frieza and his father, as the others would just have to deal with his army, as he reminds them that all of them are a lot stronger than even Ginyu himself. And even if they have the numbers against them, it doesn't matter if they are all very weak compared to them, as he and Goku flies off to fight Frieza and Cold. Many army soldiers would try to rush at the two Saiyans, but they managed to overpower them by a lot, to the point where they are nothing to them. They land in front of Frieza and his father, and Frieza is glad to see Vegeta alive and well, as he did always wonder what had happened to him. He began to tell Vegeta all the torture that Raditz went through and how he killed Nappa because of his disappearance. This started to anger Vegeta, as he powers up into his Super Saiyan form. He grows a little cocky, telling Frieza how he trained his whole life to grow stronger than him and to defeat him for what he did to the Saiyans. Frieza has a shocked expression, but that quickly turns into a grim smirk. He explains how he would have been terrified of the power, but with seeing how Raditz grew in strength throughout his time working under Frieza, he knew Saiyans did possess a great way to grow in power. And since he knew about Raditz finding his brother and hearing the conversation when Raditz first arrived on Earth, he knew that he had to find a way to grow stronger. So he and his father did a little training. He hated, as he never thought that he would have to ever train in his life. But both of them trained only for a week, thinking it would be far enough to catch up. And he was right. With both Cole and Frieza in their final form, their power levels would be close enough to the two Super Saiyans. Remember, Frieza in the Resurrection F movie grew almost on par with Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta in just half a year, compared to when it took them almost 2 decades to reach. They both begin to power up to their full power, as this puts a shocked expression to the both of them, as they would transform into their final form right at the start, and soon their fight would begin. With the other 5, they're fighting against Frieza's and Cold's army, as when Turbo, Gohan, and Trunks began fighting, and seeing how much weaker these soldiers are, they began to grow confident in their power. Broly alone was facing the Ginyu Force, and was just toying with them as they weren't really any threat. As Raditz, he would be taking out his anger and built up pain on Zarbon and Dodoria. It wouldn't take them long to beat them, and then they would aid the others with the surplus amount of soldiers that they are in the battlefield. Even though they are not strong, but with just the amount of numbers that were present, it would be keeping the 5 Saiyans occupied and not being able to aid Goku or Vegeta. With Vegeta fighting against Frieza and Goku facing Cold, their fight is almost even, with the Saiyans having the edge slightly, with the help of the techniques and how advanced their fighting styles are, but they don't know how long they would be able to keep up the advantage. Frieza and Cole would begin to fight more dirty, as they would actually try to destroy the planet by attacking it with their Ki Blast, so Goku and Vegeta would try their best with protecting the planet from their attacks, but in turn, this would hurt them greatly. When they continue to fight, they are slowly going on the losing edge, as Raditz would see this as he begins to grow angry, seeing his brother getting hurt and all the pain that Frieza caused him growing up. He transformed into his Ikari form as he rushes to aid his brother and Vegeta. Knowing he wouldn't be much help, but he has to do something to give them a chance. He tries to strike at Frieza, but it barely phases him as Frieza would grab a hold of Raditz and begin to beat him badly, teaching him a lesson on what happens if you betray Frieza. He beats on Raditz until he is back on his base form, as he crashes down to the ground, barely conscious. Goku and Vegeta are worried about Raditz until they see Frieza and Cold both charging up a death ball, ready to destroy the planet. They prepare to blast the attack back, but then suddenly Frieza and Cold are interrupted. With them being caught off guard, Cold is instantly sent crashing down into the ground with a ball of ki as Frieza sends an incoming attack, but is a bit late to react as a disc cuts off his tail. He feels immense pain as he turns around in anger to see both Yamcha and Krillin back from King Kai. Roughly, their power levels are around Raditz's, with also being at 5 mil, and can handle Kaioken times 10, but that would strain their body. Y'all may be asking, how could they help as they are only as strong as Raditz is, and we just saw him get destroyed, but they learned quite a few tricks in the other world. The training with King Kai ended quickly with them only needing to learn the techniques he had, and once they did, they actually went to explore the other world and faced many strong fighters and learned some cool techniques during their time spent there. Frieza and Cold look at them with murderous eyes, but instantly Krillin uses a Kaioken times 10 and a solar flare to blind them, as he retreats a bit and raises his hand and begins to charge up his attack. Yamcha would go by Raditz, picking him up as he would regroup with Goku and Vegeta, telling him that they just need to hold the both of them on for a few minutes so Krillin can charge up his attack. Goku will tell Raditz to just sit back as he is very injured, as the three would go face off Frieza and Cold. Raditz, looking at his brother and Vegeta, he begins to tear up as Blames fills his body, that he brought such danger to a peaceful planet that Goku and Vegeta lived at and put their families in danger, just because he was afraid of Frieza. The tears soon began to become anger as Raditz slowly gets up and begins to charge up. His body is in way too much pain, but he didn't care as he continued charging up as others began to notice. His hair began to glow yellow. Yelling out, he powers into the Super Saiyan transformation as he rushed in helping the others to face off Frieza and Cold. With his base at 5 million and now with Super Saiyan it would be at 250 million. With all the damage he took, he would be brought down but not by much as he currently would have a rage boost. So I would say currently his power level would be at a good 200 million, which isn't a lot to Frieza and Cold, but it's something that they have to give attention to. Frieza and Cold are having slight trouble with having to fight two people, even though one is close to their power and the other one is just annoying them. Eventually the weaker fighters will be taken down, leaving just Goku and Vegeta once again, but Krillin manages to charge up a strong spirit bomb as he told both of the Saiyans to have Frieza and Cold together, which they managed to do so barely, as Krillin would throw it to the both of them while they weren't looking, and once they saw the attack it was too late for them to dodge as they got hit with a spirit bomb and got sent flying away with a huge explosion. Everyone believed that they won and thought the attack was enough to take out Frieza and his father, as Krillin would go by the Saiyans cheering that it was him who dealt the killing blow. Everyone would gather up and celebrate until Gohan and Trunks' face quickly changed to be filled with fear as they point out that they are still alive to the shock of everyone. Krillin is frozen as he did think that the spirit bomb would be good enough to take them out. Yamcha says he has one more trick up his sleeve, but they would need everyone to hold off Frieza and Cold as he needs to borrow both Goku and Vegeta. With that, Yamcha, Goku, and Vegeta would leave the battlefield for a bit while leaving the rest of the group to hold Frieza and Cold off. And it would be rough for them as their strongest person technically is Broly, but only when he's out of control. With the group consisting of Krillin, Raditz, Tarble, Gohan, Trunks, and Broly, they tried their best to hold off against the threats. Even though Frieza and Cold are pretty beaten up, so are the Z fighters, and it's worse that they are much weaker than Frieza and Cold. So it isn't going well for them, as it wouldn't be long as Tarble and the Hybrid Saiyans would be taken down, leaving the other three left having to push beyond their limits, as Krillin goes beyond his limit of Kaioken, going up to times 20, which is bringing him to the brink of death. Raditz goes back into his Super Saiyan form. Even if it wouldn't be for long, he has no other choice. Raditz tries to think what else they can do to give the others time, as he looks at Broly and remembering how he went berserk and grew in power, thinking that he may be their only choice if things get worse. The fight continues and it doesn't go well as Krillin is soon out of the count. Raditz throws all rationality out the window and yells at Broly that he has to lose control and go berserk to stall for time. Broly isn't sure as he doesn't want to risk the planet, but Raditz tells him that Goku and Vegeta can stop him if things get too crazy. Frieza will land a strong kick to the gut on Raditz and send him crashing into the ground, completely knocked out. Broly is the only one left as he is pretty beat up, so he tries to lose control, but he is struggling to do so, as he doesn't have the motive to lose control, until he hears Frieza and Cold laughing at him as he tells Broly that he will destroy this planet, killing anyone he loves. Broly then thinks about his father, and now if they don't win, he will no doubt die. This will be enough to crack a bit of the barrier, allowing him to tap into his Sakari form once again. But the boost is slightly less as he isn't fully enraged, but this allows him to begin growing in strength as he tries to fight both Frieza and Cold, as this would give them more time, but we don't know if it may be much as Broly is fighting a 1v2. He is able to hold his own for a good amount of time, but it does get to the point where Broly is down on his last legs, as Frieza and Cold are quite beat up but still victorious, as they both point a death beam, shooting Broly through the shoulders, as they prepare the finishing blow, and then they would fire on Broly, but then their beam is deflected by someone they couldn't see. Once they see the fighter, they don't recognize him as he looks completely different. They call themselves Gogeta, and they're here to defeat both of them. The technique that Yamcha taught Goku and Vegeta was the fusion dance, as he learned it back in the other world, as he believed this may be their only chance to win. This time around, Vegeta wouldn't really be against it, as he isn't so stubborn like his canon counterpart. Since they didn't have much time, Yamcha made them practice the dance moves before actually performing the fusion dance, and once they got the grip of it, they would do the dance and manage to get it done the first time around. With this fusion, they are much stronger than Frieza and Cold. Gogeta transforms into a Super Saiyan and rushes down on Cold, sending him flying as he grabs a hold of Frieza and brings him along, as he deals with the two at the same time. He is so fast that neither Frieza or Cold can do anything to counter Gogeta, and each hit he lands deals major pain to the two. Gogeta states that he would have liked to defeat them as Goku and Vegeta, but they have too much to protect on this planet to let their pride get the better of them, as they would prepare to end this fight as they charge up 2 Soul Punishers on each hand and throws both of them at Frieza and Cold, as they would both perish from the attack for real this time. As Gogeta would power down, Yamcha would shout that they need to hurry and bring the others back to Capsule Corp as they need to heal up badly. They would grab everyone and return to Capsule Corp. Both Bulma and Chi-Chi were worried about their sons as they looked injured, but were more or less okay. But people like Krillin and Broly needed to go into healing pods quickly as they were close to death's door. Bulma and Chi-Chi are confused on who this new fighter is, but then that's when the fusion wears off and Goku and Vegeta would go back into being themselves as they both fall over, being completely worn out after this major fight. And that's where I leave it up for now. Tell me how you think about the 7th part and how I did with the Frieza saga. What do you think about the events that folded here? With the fact of the fusion being active a lot earlier, will they use it more in the future? What threats will the Z Fighters face in the future? What could have happened differently? Leave your thoughts down in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. If y'all are interested and enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted whenever I post another part. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next part. See ya.